Hey folks, this is Rhykker, and is Last Epoch too easy? That's the question a lot of people have been asking in the aRPG community, as people have been loving Season 2 so far. We're going to dig into both the praise and concerns, and we have other aRPG news to cover as well, the full crossover event details for Diablo 4 and Berserk, plus the revamped Battle Pass. Is the revamped Battle Pass more or less consumer-friendly? Plus the news that PoE 1 players got this week. Also, the Oblivion Remastered Shadow drop this week, as we suspected, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33 released and is blowing people away. If you'd like to stay in the loop on everything happening in the aRPG world and beyond, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Now let's jump right into the Last Epoch news. As we went into the first weekend of Season 2's launch, we saw a slight bump in peak concurrent player counts. We hit a bit over 150,000. I did expect things to go a little higher than that, but nonetheless, good numbers. Since then, we've settled back down to around 90,000, which is a pretty normal trend for aRPGs after a season launch. It's comparable to the drop we see in Path of Exile after 1 week, and we'll come back to this in a bit. Now, as we said, there's been a lot of chatter about difficulty lately. Some players are complaining that the game is too easy, that getting to level 100 shouldn't happen in a day, for, the crazy blasters at least. But not everyone agrees. In fact, a lot of players love that Last Epoch doesn't feel like a second job. I think it's good that we have different aRPGs that cater to different audiences. PoE is the aRPG for real grinders. Last Epoch doesn't have to become PoE. And PoE 2 doesn't have to become Last Epoch either. Is Last Epoch a game that the grinders will be done with rather quickly? Yeah, possibly. But I see a lot of people reporting in saying they have busy lives and they want to be able to fully enjoy an aRPG without needing to devote 20 plus hours a week to gaming. And I'm going to avoid using the term casual here, because I think that Last Epoch offers a degree of depth and complexity that non-casual players can really enjoy. I would not say that Last Epoch is catered to more casual players, but rather to players who don't have either the ability or desire to spend 5 hours a day playing the game. Even then, though, things really do ramp up once you're into the meat of the endgame. But you can feel content and fulfilled before you reach that point. Thanks to Last Epoch's pace and various systems like the Circle of Fortune for target farming gear, it actually feels realistic and achievable for an average gamer to build up multiple characters. So, is Last Epoch too easy? Well, whether it is or it isn't, a roughly 30% drop-off in players after a week is, again, comparable to Path of Exile, which is not too easy. So it doesn't really matter if it's too easy, if it has the same retention as a game that is not too easy, right? Now, maybe you can argue that retention would be even better if it wasn't too easy. Maybe all the blasters are the 30% who are done with the game and have fallen off. But we can counter-argue, maybe if we made it harder, then we would keep the blasters but lose the people who don't have the time to devote to the game. Oh, and the Last Epoch devs actually released this infographic, which says that 49% of all characters created in Season 2 are Sentinels. Sentinel is the most OP class right now, so again, how many people are saying the game is too easy? And I'll clarify, ultimately, I would not be opposed to making the game more challenging. I just want to ensure we don't have a knee-jerk reaction and end up breaking something that is working fine for a lot of people. Another thing that may make the campaign feel so easy to many people is the Nemesis system, through which you can pretty easily get exalted modifiers on gear much earlier than we used to. So imagine getting, an exalted weapon at level 10. Yeah, you're gonna crush everything for quite a while with that item. So all this to say, there's a couple different things going on that may be contributing to people's perception or even experience that the early game especially is too easy. But not everyone may be equally benefiting from these factors. Now, there's also an argument to be made that the campaign can be so easy that it does not adequately prepare you for empowered monoliths. Oh, and speaking of, I wonder how many people who say the game is too easy have yet to reach empowered monoliths. Even the Lagon fight is the first huge difficulty spike currently in the game. The next would be at Majasa. And then it's basically smooth sailing until you hit empowered monos. Now, Judd, the boss of EHG, chimed in on Reddit saying, quote, "We're not looking to make the early campaign overly difficult, as it should be easy enough for new players to the genre not to be immediately alienated, but it should also present challenges. Right now, we feel it may be too spiky when real challenges are presented, like with Lagon." So maybe we're going to see a bit of a smoothing out of the difficulty, which is reasonable. But we also have to remember that something easy for an aRPG veteran, as many of us are, may be challenging for an aRPG noob. And at Gamescom, I saw plenty of players try out Last Epoch and enjoy it and report that that was the first time they ever played an aRPG. Also, if you want a more challenging campaign experience, the game actually has a built-in hidden hard mode. Early in the campaign, you reach the old road. There's a bear you kill in a cave. Now, before you exit that cave, there's stalagmites to the right. You destroy those to reveal a path forward. You're going to go through a couple more bears, a couple more breakable walls, and then you're going to find a pair of boots that make you deal less damage and take more damage. And they also have a move speed modifier that scales with your level, so you can keep these boots on throughout the campaign, and your move speed is just going to naturally increase as you level up. Because of course EHG has a solution to things. But moving on from the difficulty discussion, the updates to the endgame have been great. The Weaver Tree, absolute hit. Champions, fun. Tombs and cemeteries, okay, maybe getting a little samey. Could probably use some more layouts, tile sets, monster variety. But overall, the vibe is that this season is ridiculously fun. Quality of life has also been a major win. Auto-sorting stash tabs, intuitive gear filters, being able to find everything you need, every resource to explain game systems, all of that in-game without needing to rely on third-party resources is just great. Oh, and speaking of the loot filter, all we're really missing now is the ability to customize the sounds and minimap icons. Would be nice for that to also be worked in, you know, to reach feature parity with the PoE loot filters. Oh, also customizing the mouse cursor would be a nice quality of life too. So altogether, between the satisfying item chase, the more casual pacing, the powerful offline mode, and the crazy improvements this season, a lot of players are calling Last Epoch their new aRPG home. I think Last Epoch currently has the best quality of life and arguably the best systems of any aRPG. Oh, and they definitely win bonus points by not filling their game with monsters with on-death effects. I don't get why so many devs love to have these mechanics where once you defeat the monsters and the threat should therefore be neutralized, there's an extra screw you mechanic to trip you up when you're just running for your loot. Thank you, EHG, for not doing this. So many of EHG's ideas should just become standard for the aRPG genre. The Circle of Fortune as a solution to the trade versus non-trade player dilemma is so welcome. It doesn't make non-trade players feel pressured to have to engage in trade if we dislike trade. Even trade players want to sometimes take a break and not feel like they have to go really hard, go ham at season launch, or fall behind in the game's trade economy. Then you got loot lizards that are so great, and letting us spec out our Weaver Tree to get even more loot lizards is great. Also, loot lizards are less stressful than treasure goblins because they'll only escape if they haven't been damaged for 20 seconds, which is effectively an eternity in an aRPG. And especially since you only need to damage them like once, just hit them once to reset that 20-second timer. So that just makes getting those loot lizard shrines so much better, because if you didn't have a blasting build in Diablo 3, you may lose some goblins before you can track them all down, which is always kind of a feels bad moment. Even though you got that big exciting, you know, oh, all these goblins are spawning, if even one gets away, there's always that kind of like, yeah, I screwed up. Now, we had this week a surprise server maintenance drop, rolled out a patch with over 130 fixes and improvements. We got little warning for it, but hey, at least thanks to true offline mode, about 20,000 people could keep playing anyway. Now, it seems the reason it was so abrupt was because an exploit had just emerged and they wanted to deal with that ASAP. But folks, how are you feeling now, 1 week into Season 2 of Last Epoch? Do you think the pacing is just right? Do you hope to see a little bit more challenge down the road? Let me know in the comments. Moving on to some Diablo news. I previously expressed that I suspected D4 would launch on Switch 2, since D3 launched on Switch. I no longer believe that will happen at least at the launch of Switch 2, after some comments that Diablo boss Rod Ferguson made in an interview on Gamertag Radio. He said, quote, "It's nice the Switch 2 has the performance that can run a game like Diablo 4. So yeah, it's something to look at for sure. I think the challenge is less about the hardware and just about how live services on Switch have been a little bit challenging in the past. So I'm hoping that as they launch this June, and as we look to the future, that becomes easier and easier, so it makes more sense to put a live service on that platform." These are not the kind of comments he'd be making if they were secretly planning to launch D4 on Switch in June. Maybe sometime in the future, but definitely not at launch. Having a always online persistent game where you have to preserve the integrity of the experience, and it's shared cross-server, cross-platform, with monetized battle passes and everything, definitely poses challenges there. Then we got details this week about the Diablo Berserk crossover event. Running from May 7th to June 3rd, players in Diablo 4 can earn Behelits by slaying elite enemies. You'll trade those Behelits in for Berserk-themed cosmetics, like the Hawk's Destiny back trophy, Skull Knight's mount armor, the Brand of Sacrifice marking, the Foretold Eclipse headstone, and if you grab everything, the Odd of the Berserker emblem. They'll also be doing the Support a Streamer incentive on Twitch. If you sub or gift a sub to a participating streamer, you'll get this mount trophy. Plus, there'll be Twitch drops for watching Diablo 4 streamers to earn this sword. There's also going to be Berserk-inspired armor sets for sale in the in-game shop, because of course there is. Now, I just want to bring up Diablo Immortal to express how I am consistently jealous of what Immortal players get. Their crossover event with Berserk includes a new boss fight against Nosferatu Zod. There's a new legendary gem, the Crimson Behelit, that grants a variety of buffs. Plus, there's a new Struggler's Bane event featuring a gauntlet of demons and another new boss. And there's also a customizable Golem Familiar summoned during the Struggler's Path event that has like game mechanics attached to it. Immortal pretty consistently seems to get cool events like this. It's partially why I made my version of a Diablo 4 roadmap that would have been hype for me to see. I posted that as a video yesterday. Do check it out if you haven't, and let me know. Check out my roadmap and tell me if that roadmap would have hyped you up for the next year of Diablo 4. Meanwhile, we had this week the Campfire Chat going over the final patch notes for Season 8, which launches on Tuesday the 29th. Boss powers were totally dominating on PTR, now they're being toned down for launch. Also, difficulty in general is being toned down relative to PTR and will land somewhere between Season 7 difficulty and Season 8 PTR difficulty, and that includes the leveling speed. But my favorite change, Conduit Shrines are being removed from the game. They plan to bring them back in the future once they have changed them into something more fun, but at least in the interim, they are gone. Goodbye to Cursed Shrines. You can check out my summary video for the full details on what's coming in Season 8, Belial's Return, and this handy infographic gives a summary of the tentpoles. Now, we also learned details this week about the Reliquaries, which is the new Battle Pass system. Again, I covered the explanation of the system in my summary video, but one thing that was learned by digging into the numbers is exactly how the monetization of it works out. So previously, with a Battle Pass, you would pay 1,000 platinum to get it. And in that Battle Pass that you paid for, you can earn back 700 platinum. With the new system, the Battle Pass is broken down into 4 reliquaries. Each reliquary is basically just a set of cosmetics that you can earn. Now, there's 1 free reliquary and 3 paid ones. You can buy all the paid ones either separately or as a bundle for 1,000 platinum. So the price to get the full battle pass remains 1,000 platinum. However, in the free reliquary, you can now earn 200 platinum, and there's no additional platinum that you get in the paid reliquaries. So depending on what kind of player you are, this is either a good thing or a bad thing. If you never spent a dime on battle passes, then hey, you will now be getting 200 free platinum every season. Meaning after 5 seasons, you can buy a full reliquary bundle, or every season you can buy the cheapest reliquary, which is 200 platinum. However, if you bought the battle pass for 1,000 platinum every season, then this is a nerf. Previously, buying the battle pass would give you enough platinum to get a free battle pass every 3rd season. Now it's going to be every 6th season. Now, I will say I'm glad that they put Platinum in the free reliquary. I think it's good to give dedicated players, people who have more, time than money, the ability to get some of these cosmetics. But I can also understand paying customers now feeling like they're getting less value out of the 1,000 platinum packages. But what do you folks think about the monetization change? Sound off in the comments. Now in some quick Path of Exile news, as in Path of Exile 1, 3.26 is still on track for a June release. No delays yet, hopefully. The Freezy event ended, no extension, as people had asked for. However, to soften the blow a little, they're dropping 15 private league templates for free starting next week. These templates will be unmodifiable, but they'll offer a bunch of cool options like alternate ascendancies, the idols system, shifting stones mixed with Atlas Invasion, even some gauntlet-style challenges if you're feeling particularly masochistic. Full details are coming soon, but it's a nice bonus if you're itching for something to do before 3.26 lands. Are you folks planning to check out more PoE 1 stuff before the launch of the new league? Sound off in the comments. Now in some Elder Scrolls news, surprise, Oblivion Remastered dropped out of nowhere. No one could have ever foreseen this. It is live on Game Pass, Steam, and PS5 right now. And calling this a simple remaster is a massive understatement. This is way beyond a texture upgrade. We're talking new combat animations with proper hit feedback, a sprinting system, reworked third-person view modeled after Starfield, brand new voice acting mixed in with original voice acting. Every race, for instance, now has its own distinct voice. But don't worry, iconic voice lines like "Stop right there, criminal scum" are still alive and well in all their delightful memery. The leveling system is now a fusion of Oblivion and Skyrim. Now you gain experience naturally via skill increases, and then you assign stat points when you level up. A massive quality of life upgrade without losing the soul of the original game. They also remade every single model and texture by hand, touched up the visual and sound effects, and somehow kept the entire vibe of Oblivion intact. It's still got its awkward moments, it's still weird in all the best ways, but now it actually looks and feels amazing to play in 2025. All this runs on Unreal Engine 5 for graphics, while the original gameplay systems are still under the hood. So it's the old engine running the game logic that's then, instead of being rendered by that engine, it gets sent out to be rendered on the Unreal Engine. Similar to Diablo 2 Resurrected, where they just built a layer of new graphics on top, but it's the old engine running the game logic underneath. Now, Bethesda said that mods, officially speaking, are not supported. But what that really means is they are saying, mod at your own risk, don't come crying to us if you break something. The original 2006 mod tools should still work to some degree. Obviously, there's been some changes to the engine, and there's probably going to be some difficulty with the whole old engine to Unreal thing for visual stuff, but the community is already digging into that. Now, the deluxe edition of the remaster comes with new armor, weapons, and some extra goodies like soundtracks and art books, and yes, if you missed it, horse armor is back, baby. Who would have thought we'd have nostalgia for the beginning of the terrible monetization creep of our industry? Performance-wise, some players are struggling to hold a stable 30 FPS. Steam Deck, it's allegedly Steam verified, or Steam Deck verified. It means nothing anymore. But if you got a solid PC, the game looks and runs beautifully. Player numbers exploded after launch as well, with the game peaking at over 190,000 concurrent players on Steam alone, not counting Game Pass or PS5. And Bethesda confirmed over 4 million people have already played the remaster. Reviews are extremely positive across the board, with a lot of first-timers as well, falling in love, and veterans saying this is the exact kind of remaster they were hoping for. Even Oblivion's original senior game designer said in an interview with Videogamer.com that he was floored by how far they went, saying it needs a new word because remaster just doesn't do it justice. Oh, and a nice little feel-good moment here, Bethesda gifted free copies of Oblivion Remastered to the entire Skyblivion mod team. Classy move from them right there. The Skyblivion team is still targeting this year as their release year. That's the mod that remakes Oblivion inside of Skyrim. Now it's likely that Fallout 3 will be the next official remaster from Bethesda. The same original leak that showed us the Oblivion Remaster also showed Fallout 3. In other news, Clair Obscur Expedition 33 just launched, and it is absolutely lighting the gaming world on fire. Reviewers are losing their minds over it. We're talking 91 average score on OpenCritic, with 97% of critics recommending it across more than 100 reviews. On Steam, it's sitting at very positive reviews and even peaked at 71,000 concurrent players, and it has sold over 500,000 copies worldwide. Not bad for a brand new IP from a brand new studio, which I think was founded by like ex-Ubisoft people. The game's said to be about 40 hours for the main story, 60 for scooping up all the side content, which seems like just the right sweet spot, and if you ask me, a great deal for a game that has a AA price. Some critics are calling it a once-in-a-generation RPG. I'm seeing quotes like, "This game transcends gaming and approaches a work of art." It's not every day that you see a new studio come out swinging like this, so kudos to the devs. Félicitations. The launch trailer looks incredible, and honestly, it's shocking that a team of only 30 people made something this polished. It's fully voice acted, visuals are stunning. It runs on Unreal Engine 5, and yet it only takes up about 40 gigs of space. It's very competitively priced, plus it's relatively cheap in a world where now Nintendo is pushing $90 games. Early players are raving about the opening hours, the music, the storytelling, and just the overall feel of the game. If you grew up with classic Final Fantasy and you're not super into the action-heavy direction the series has taken, Clair Obscur might just scratch that JRPG itch. But I turn the question to you folks, have you tried jumping into the game yet? And if not, is it now on your must-play list? I haven't had a chance to try it myself, but I've had my eye on it for a long time. I hope to have a chance to play it at some point in the future. Lastly, in some No Rest for the Wicked news, the Breach update is almost here, and the new trailer is looking great. The art direction, the sound design, even the in-game cutscene animations, it all looks amazing. Now, just to be clear, this isn't the full 1.0 release, but it is a massive update. New zone, new quests, new enemies, new loot, a whole slew of game-changing improvements. It's not just a patch, it's basically a second launch. And the music, goodness the music. The soundtrack in that trailer is just incredible. Breach officially drops April 30th. How many of you are planning to jump in and either try out No Rest for the Wicked for the first time or revisit it? We had covered it, a year ago. I got to visit the studio in Vienna, interview them. These guys are doing some really cool stuff. And that's going to wrap up this video, folks. But do be sure to have checked out last week's video, in which we discussed the issue that Path of Exile 2 is facing right now. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to join Rhykkers Raiders for more gaming content.